Hello and welcome to Advertisers Watching Ads. My name is Tom Ollerton and this is a weekly show where brands watch other brands' ads and discuss what is good and bad about them. Every week we are brought to you in partnership with the Conscious Advertising Network, so please go and check out the great and important work they're doing after the show. So without further ado, let's meet this week's guests.
So hi everyone, my name is Anne. I work at Adidas in the global content strategy team as manager for content production strategy.
Hi everyone, my name's Adam Nickson. I'm head of marketing communications for Group Renault in the UK.
And I'm Jerry, and I am senior media director for the EMEA region at GSK.
Thanks so much for joining us, guys. So today we are going to be looking at an ad by EE, and this is a TVC about their launch of the iPhone 12 Pro, featuring Rita Ora in the first ever AR live performance powered by 5G. You might not know what any of those things mean, but let's have a look at the ads.
Anna, come on, grab your coat.
Hey, Kevin, where are we going? Why are we up here? Is that?
Yep, the new iPhone 12 Pro on EE. Scan around you. There's someone you should meet. You've never seen AR like this before.
Rita Ora.
Hey Anna, this one's for you, live over 5G.
Wish that I could let you love me, say, what's the matter with me? What's the matter with me? Oh, I wish that I could let you love me, say, what's the matter with me? What's the matter with me? Oh, I wish that I could let you love me now.
Whoa! Get the iPhone 12 Pro on the #1 5G network and be the envy of everyone.
Right. Anna, what was your response to that when you first saw it?
First time I saw it, I was sitting with a feeling that I couldn't really describe afterwards. So I was thinking, okay, first of all, that actor and then Rita Ora, I was like, that's an interesting mix. And the AR and everything that just happened, I was seriously like, I need to watch it again. And I watched it a few times. Initially, I thought it was actually about the phone. So I didn't think it was an ad from EE, but rather Apple. But it didn't feel like the look and feel from Apple. So I was a little bit confused there. I do have to say, like with the AR and stuff, like I couldn't figure out if I should focus on that, as in like, was that what should grasp my attention, or was it the story? And I think I watched it, 5 or 6 times before I could like start to connect all the dots.
So Adam, confusion or admiration? Where do you sit when you first saw it?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was big, it was bold, it was a kind of epic production. And I think actually when you think about some of the ads on TV at the moment, it will stand out massively. I think there's a lot of quite serious brand ads. You know, I think this is an ad that will kind of transcend a lot of what you see in any ad break at the moment. Again, a little bit confused. Is it an ad for Rita Ora? Is it an ad for the iPhone 12? It's an ad for EE. I think Kevin Bacon did the EE bit, which made me realize it was for them. But if I wasn't familiar with him, I probably wouldn't know.
And how about you, Jerry?
For me, it's also, the question you want to ask is like, what earth was the brief? What earth are they trying to communicate? And I think it shows the real challenge of trying to communicate something like 5G technology. So instead, they just jumped up like the most ridiculously complicated, over-the-top thing you could ever use it for. And I suppose I admire them for that.
I want to go back to your point, Adam, about it being sort of big and bold and epic and transcendent. And a theme I find myself coming back to a lot on this show is it's quite easy to be big and bold and transcendent when you've got a big and bold and transcendent budget. And Rita Ora, I question how much creativity there is actually in this. There's no story, not really. Yes, it's big and bold and transcendent, but do you think that having Kevin Bacon was enough of an anchor there to make people remember it was EE, or is that just going to get lost?
Yeah, I don't think it was. I mean, I think Kevin Bacon's been part of EE advertising for as long as I can remember, certainly for the last few years. So I think he anchors it to a certain extent. I just don't think it lands the EE bit well enough. And I think a lot of what they're trying to communicate is about envy, but I'm just not sure it landed the, EE is the best network for 5G. I kind of think that sort of missed the boat slightly.
And is that your view as well, Anna? Do you think that they should have made a more emotional ad, as we've seen from iPhone fairly recently, or have they done the right balance here?
For me, like, I'm obviously also really focused on like the storytelling and like trying to like break it down into the different kind of things they want to communicate and how they do that. I'm not sure how they're going to do this in different ways. So I think it's going to be hard for them to retell this story in different way or in smaller ads or something like that. So it just feels like a big boom, a bold move indeed. And if they're going for a lot of brand awareness, I'm sure they're actually gonna get that in a certain extent. But besides that, I'm not really sure what else they're gonna do.
And what's your view on the 5G piece, Adam? Is this something that consumers really need to understand? How important is it for brands like Apple and providers like EE to create a kind of almost fictional future people have to buy into in order to feel that they're ahead of their mates?
I think they've shown what 5G can do. They've not really told us why we need it. So I would kind of hope that as part of that campaign, it's sort of similar in my industry with electric. Electric cars will be the future that we'll all be driving in 10 years' time. We have a job to do to kind of, I guess, pull away some of those myths that people have of, why they want one in the first place, or what can it do for me, or why is it different? How do I live with it? Try and do. You can't do that in one TV ad necessarily. Clearly, it's a big job to do, and it's over a period of time. But I think that should be a start point, or at least part of the journey they take people on, I think.
And Anna, what was your view of how they used Rita Ora? Do you think that was a good ad for her as well as it was for the brand and the service provider?
I'm not really sure, to be honest, because I could feel after I watched it, like I kept singing the song, afterwards. So in that sense, I can imagine like good for her. But I also read a few like comments on Twitter, etc., talking about like that she must be really broke in order to do this kind of collaboration. And I was like, okay, fair enough. So I'm not really sure, but I think also from my side, I mean, now I'm not based in the UK, so for me the connection between her and Kevin Bacon was like, I don't understand that. It didn't align with what I would expect, but I can also imagine that.
I'm not sure there's a strong connection, even if you do live here. It was still a pretty random airing out. I quite like that it isn't, people sat at home talking to their loved ones, because, we've seen a lot of that this year, and maybe that would have been very predictable. But it is interesting that in a year where, genuine, faster data has suddenly become even more important to people, that their narrative was like so out there and random and like lacked any kind of real emotion. Maybe that is the reality. If we can't get out of our homes, we are going to watch giant AR experiences instead.
And Adam, do you think the whole thing actually worked from a tech perspective? I get this impression there was a big technical feat involved. Do you think there was, and does it matter if it was or wasn't?
Sort of points the ad missed for me was that it was filmed for real. So I think they probably could have done a bit of a better job in explaining how it was filmed, and it was filmed on the iPhone 12, so it's kind of shot for real using that technology. When you watch the behind the scenes footage, it felt quite difficult to do. It felt like not the sort of thing you could do in 5 minutes,
I did wonder straight away. I wondered, can you as a consumer do it? Like, can I have Rita? Can she appear in my living room, or if I can see the gherkin? But as far as I know, not.
So to wrap up, Anna, can you give the audience your advice on what brands can take away from this ad and this discussion?
I think as a brand, you need to make sure what is the story you want to communicate and how do you execute it in order for your audience to understand, as Adam said, the why. Like, what can you as a consumer, like, why do I need this? So, I mean, storytelling also, of course, like that's what I'm really passionate about, but storytelling is really, really important. So focus on the why here.
Clearly, there's a good product in there. So if you've got a good product that is genuinely different, then why not flaunt it? There's nothing wrong with a good product ad. I quite like the way they did a sort of a show, don't tell. So actually, they brought the product to life in the most impactful way. I'm not sure how relevant it was to me personally, but perhaps I'm not the right audience. I don't know. I think the thing that for me that I would probably look at is how much EE gets remembered. I think don't let your brand get lost in amongst the communication, really.
At the end of the day, it's fantastic and fun and bonkers, and I remember it, and it's probably a 5 out of 5, and like, oh my gosh, how did we end up there? What kind of warped brief got us there? And please never show it to me again. So but better to be memorable than wallpaper.
Well, thank you so much for joining. We'll see everyone next week.